Hi, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
And welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. Well, Jim, we're about a week into the NHL lockout. Oh, did I tell you who I bumped into the other day?
No, do tell.
Absolutely. I was just walking on the street, minding my own business. There were a couple of people across the street in, $45,000 suits. And one of them, there's one guy, there was a glint off of his bald head. And I said, "That's Bill Daly." And sure enough, it was Bill Daly.
Did you talk to him?
Oh, I totally talked to him. We're practically best friends now, Jim. Yeah, we're exchanged names and numbers and stuff. So he's gonna talk to me a little bit about the lockout, and I'll get back to you on it. But for just the record, basically I said, because he was coming out of the Alberta Labor Relations Board meeting that they had with the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames, and I said, "How are things going in there, Bill?" And he said, "They're still ongoing." So there we go. Practically best friends.
He could tell you were in communications. He didn't want to just buzzwords.
Just
ongoing.
Just
Talks
ongoing.
Resume.
That's exactly it.
Look at you, hey? Just
brush with
getting in there at the big wigs.
That's exactly it. Me and my $10 Gap shirt really fit in. So
hey, it's a lockout, man. You can't be spending all willy-nilly.
Right? This is the thing.
It's like a recession, but for sports fans.
That's right. Let's carry on. The NHL made its first few moves of the lockout this week, along with some teams. What happened there?
Well, since they haven't been able to get the players to accept a lower salary, the NHL's cut its employee salaries by 20% and put them down to a 4-day work week, which, to be fair, doesn't sound too shabby. The 4-day work week part, but you lose money. So it's they've also canceled preseason games through until the end of September, and the Kraft Hockeyville exhibition game in Belleville, Ontario. Also, the mascot of the Florida Panthers has been let go. Stanley C. Panther, now looking for a job, Jeff.
Jim, when Stanley C. Panther no longer has a job, this lockout is real.
I mean, we are looking for an intern, Stanley.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No kidding.
I don't know if we can get you on camera too much, but just throwing it out there.
That's right. Well, I mean, there's a flood of players. Just lots of them going overseas, KHL, Swiss League, all of those. But there's a potentially embarrassing situation for the NHL starting to form if the lockout should go into January.
Yeah, and I mean, if it goes that long, the season might be done.
Probably.
But if it's January, picture this. New York City, lockout dragging on. Two of the NHL's biggest stars about to hit the ice in Brooklyn. Alex Ovechkin with Dynamo Moscow, Ilya Kovalchuk with SKA St. Petersburg in KHL action at the Barclays Center. How bad would that look right in the wheelhouse of the NHL? New York City.
Right where the headquarters are.
Two of your stars playing against each other for a rival league.
Oh,
that's going to sting a little bit.
They'll
act like it doesn't, but that's going to sting.
Oh, totally. It'd be a huge media field day. You could see TSN doing a countdown to that game. I'm telling you. Mind you, by January...
Countdown to lockdown, showdown.
Well, totally. They're going to be pretty hard up, TSN, by then, for different NHL
So
news.
will we.
Well, yeah, valid point. Valid point, sir.
Let's, every week from here on out, we'll have a countdown.
I like it. A countdown to...
2 days until Ovi Kovi.
That's right. I love it. Well, speaking of Ovi, what do you think of him saying he might not come back to the NHL if owners cut salaries?
It's it's a brash thing to say, but I think he's all talk. I'm sure he'd like to not come back, but does have a contract, and I think it would be a mess if the KHL and the NHL were fighting over that contract. I mean, let's face it, he'll be back.
Oh yeah.
But I can see where he's coming from.
Oh yeah.
They want to slash. I think what he's really saying is, why are you signing me to this deal if you know, even a couple years ago, you know what's coming and you know what you're going to ask for?
No, that's exactly right. It's absolutely silly, and
I think he's just frustrated, like the rest of us.
What? Frustration? No kidding. One last bit of hockey talk here, and I swear it's not about the lockout, folks. The Ontario Hockey League is out with some new rules involving fighting, which really could be the beginning and the end of it.
Yeah, the OHL says players who exceed 10 fighting majors this season will be suspended from the 11th fight on, 2 per fight, or 4 if you're the instigator, that's That's a lot. I mean, that's big. That's big time. After 16 fights, the team gets fined $1,000. It makes you wonder, though, like, will this make teams pickier about sending a guy out to fight? Sort of like how they use timeouts in football, almost. Like, you hang on to it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you wait for the right time. Maybe that gets rid of the staged fights. Maybe that gets rid of some of the fights that are just kind of, hey, we're both fighters. Do you want to fight? All right, let's do it.
Right.
Maybe we'll get back to the days where it's, you know, when two guys fight, it's a meaningful juncture in the game. It's a big momentum shift, and maybe not. And this is of course just the OHL, but a lot of times with rules, you'll see them test it out in the lower leagues. Maybe it advances to the AHL at some point, and maybe eventually it's in the NHL, and that forces fighters to be accountable, good players for the most part. And I think it's a positive step.
I think it actually increases the value of fighting, and I really like that. Like you say, if you're gonna be susceptible to fines, it's gonna be important that you put out your guy to fight. Reminds me of that Chris Rock skit, the one where he says there shouldn't be gun control, there should be bullet control, and the bullets should be $10,000 each, because if somebody gets shot, they really deserved it. Same thing.
You have something of mine?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So,
that's true. That's a good way of putting it, because you have a guy that can fight, but you got to use him wisely.
Exactly. Use him when it's really important. On the other hand, Don Cherry would say that fighting all the time was valuable too, because it really showed that
job creation.
Well, yeah, there's
in
that.
These tough economic times.
Guy never would have played a game if there was the rules that they're in there right now. Let's talk a little football now. We've been coming back to this week in, week out here, but the Eskimos face the Lions this week. They were looking to snap a 3-game slide, and Stephen Giles was back from his knee injury, lost 19-18, and there was an absolutely just horrible play at the end of the game with about a minute left, and threw the ball away, basically lost the game for the Eskimos. Bad play calling, maybe. I don't know what it was, but the Eskimos, man, what is going on?
It's tough to watch because, some weeks they get blown out. Fair enough.
Sure. But
they're losing these close games, and there's chance upon chance for them to pull ahead, but they don't seem to have. And you hear this a lot in sports, but a team or a fighter or a player not having that killer instinct, and it doesn't seem like they have that.
No,
they can hang around.
Yeah,
they can be in a game right to the end, and they've lost 4 in a row, but how many of those have been a couple of points?
Totally.
3 of those 4. One of them was an absolute blowout, but the close games, it still doesn't feel like you're sitting there watching and you go, I can't believe we're in this game.
Absolutely.
They have the ability to be there and to be in the conversation right to the very end, but they don't have that last intangible that great teams have, and it's getting tough to watch.
It's getting really tough to watch. Absolutely. Well, we got a really long rundown, so we're going to keep going here. Some interesting stuff for the NFL last week involving that bounty program that we keep talking about here on 15 Minutes of Fame. What happened there, Jim?
It was interesting. The NFL showed Jonathan Vilma a signed affidavit from one of his former coaches, Greg Williams, who was at the center of the whole bounty thing, that says Vilma put up $10,000 to injure Brett Favre. And another one from a different former coach that Vilma says is just a disgruntled ex-Saints employee. Vilma tweeted that day, though, a couple of interesting things. He writes, the NFL has 1 affidavit saying I did it. I have 9 saying I didn't. Do the math. Hush, haters.
I like
that last part.
Sure.
And then the second one, you obviously want me to be guilty if you can't see that Greg was bullied to sign the affidavit. He signed 3 days ago. # weak attempt. So that's true. I mean, it does sound a little suspect, but this story is not going away. Vilma's not backing down, and the NFL's not backing down either. So I wonder. It'll be interesting to see how long this drags on, because this could go weeks, months,
That's
season.
The thing. It could go a whole season, and then it'll all be for naught anyways by then. But no, that's exactly it. So we're going to continue the extra long edition of the rundown right now with a bit of boxing news. Jim, Manny Pacquiao said something this week.
Yeah, he says he'll take a 55-45 split of the money to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Good for him.
And agreed to full random drug tests in recent interviews with ESPN. I have 2 questions, though.
Okay.
Number 1.
Yes.
Why now, all of a sudden? Number two, what will Mayweather say?
Well,
I think we've all established, you and I, our disdain for this whole situation over the years. Do we even care about this fight anymore?
I don't know. I did
Why
a year ago.
Taking the money now?
Yeah, I don't know.
After all this,
I don't know what his story is. That was nice of him. 55-45. Good for you.
and he said the drug test thing like a year ago.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't understand.
I just think this fight's never going to happen, and they're both to blame. But
yes.
I don't understand why now he's saying, "Oh yeah, 55-45 is fine with me."
Okay. So let's
like,
go.
It's going to get to a point where it's not the same fight anymore.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I think right now they're still both where it would be a good fight, but soon it's not going to be.
Very soon. And finally, the Edmonton Indy has been canceled. It's a big blow to Edmonton Summers, even if you're not a big racing fan.
Yeah, I wasn't. I went to a couple, and I got a new respect for the sport. But
Sure.
Octane, the promoter, decided it wasn't in its best interest to keep the race going. City said there's just not that many promoters out there, so they're not going to pursue it. So they were forced to pull the plug. It's a blow to tourism.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't go every year, it was still cool that we had a stop on the IndyCar circuit. And like I said, it certainly got me to appreciate the sport personally, and I actually called it a sport.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
That's so weird. You called it
That's
a
a couple
sport.
years. That's a turnaround.
That's
you know?
it. Look at you.
I was just driving around. I drive to work every day.
Yeah. Practically the
athlete.
same.
Now I think I am an athlete when I drive to work.
That's right. Let's move on to the GABBYs now, folks. Let's give a good to Jose Reyes of the Miami Marlins. According to BaseballReference.com, he committed the 500,000th error in MLB history last weekend. I guess that's one good way of getting your name in the books.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take it, but you
Sure.
know, that's 500,000. Congratulations, Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
Congratulations for keeping track of errors.
Oh, man.
I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
That's ridiculous. How about a good to Max Talbot and Bruno Gervais? Reports say they're looking into organizing a series of non-contact games between players from Montreal and players from Quebec City with money going to charity. Now, that's an idea that I'd like to see catch on. I think we've talked about this in the past, too, how sweet it would be if you could have like an Alberta versus BC or mid of NHLers. That would be awesome.
Oh,
so
yeah.
hopefully some other players, once this thing starts to drag on a little bit, hopefully some other guys organize something like that.
It'd be a lot of fun to watch. Like,
absolutely.
Non-contact games can be a lot of fun. You know, it's a lot faster and it's a lot. I don't know. I would really enjoy it. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, and it's their way of keeping in shape. So you know it's going to be good hockey.
Oh, totally.
It's not going to be old timers
Me
versus
and you.
the
Yeah.
maybe you.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. And finally, a good to Old Navy. They screwed up a bunch of NFL shirts that had wrong information about teams on them, and rather than sell them at a discounted price or even donate them to charity, apparently they're just going to straight up destroy them. Don't worry, Old Navy, we'll remember.
Yeah, we don't forget.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's start out the bad side this week with a situation involving Washington Redskins receiver Joshua Morgan. He took a dumb penalty last week, late in an eventual loss to the St. Louis Rams. Cost his team dearly, field position-wise. But he says he's been receiving death threats over Twitter because of it. This is ridiculous. It keeps happening. It's so stupid. He says, though, to his credit, that the threats are keeping him focused. I guess he's got his head on a swivel.
I was just going to say.
All jokes aside, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is completely ridiculous, and we've talked about this before, especially when you talk about soccer in Europe. But just on the opposite side, just for a second, there is big money in NFL, right? There's big money on getting past the spread and all that other stuff. So, I'm not saying those people are right. I'm just saying there's a reason that that's happening. Big money. Still with the NFL, how about a bad to the replacement ref who allegedly told, I love this story, Philadelphia Eagles running back LaShawn McCoy to pick it up because he had him on his fantasy football team. It was probably meant as a joke, maybe, but with all the poor calls we've seen, all of them, this is the last thing the NFL needs to hear about.
And like you just mentioned, there's a lot of money out there riding on this stuff. Fantasy football, too. So it makes all you need is that seed of doubt, and it's too much.
Oh, absolutely.
If refs, even if they're kidding, how are you supposed to know if they're kidding or not? Unless you look at his fantasy football team.
Don't joke about that stuff.
Yeah, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Joke with your friends after.
Absolutely.
Just tell them that you said it to them. You don't have to actually say it.
That's right.
Just make it up.
Just make it up.
Yeah. Even if they don't believe you, be like, I was on the field. Where were you?
Yeah, exactly. You can't prove that I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, let's give a bad to fans of Iranian soccer team Sepahan FC. At a recent Asian Champions League match, a fan threw a grenade onto the field. Unaware of what it was, the player picked it up and tossed it off to the side, and it blew up, sending everyone running, as you do. The match was stopped for a bit, but they did actually keep playing. And if you're wondering, it ended 0-0. But a grenade, man.
Two things here, Jim. One, the guy picked it up and not knowing what it was, just threw it away. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it blew up.
What's this?
Could you imagine? And then the second thing, they kept playing. Yeah. I love that. I pick up a grenade, throw it away, and not knowing what it is, and then blowing it up. I'm calling that one even. I'm going home, and I am drinking scotch.
If I'm doing literally anything, and somebody throws a grenade at me, I'm changing my plans.
That's it.
I'm gonna do something else for the rest of the afternoon.
I'm
talking about anything. If I'm eating a sandwich and there's a grenade, I'm not that hungry anymore.
That's exactly it. Crazy.
Like, you guys are nuts.
Absolutely nuts. The punchline this week is the Bakersfield Condors of the ECHL, Jim.
Yeah. This is a beauty. The Condors labeled the December game against the Stockton Thunder the Our City Isn't Bankrupt night at their rink. They'll be handing out fake $1 million bills and giving away a Rolls Royce. The city of Stockton, if you were unaware, filed for bankruptcy protection in June.
Crazy.
So it's a real slap in the face. Due to the backlash, they've changed it to Boomtown Bakersfield night with the same giveaways.
There was a piece that came out from the general manager. He's like, we didn't mean to say that against anything Stockton. We were just kind of saying that we're awesome. But yeah, it's like, are you kidding me? You're like, that's not cool.
They changed it to Boomtown Bakersfield. Like, really, guys?
You cannot make fun of another town like that. That's not cool.
But the best part is they changed the name. This story's out there. So it's going to be Our City Isn't Bankrupt night to everyone there.
Absolutely. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Classic.
Well, folks, that's our 15 minutes of fame up for this week. Join us again next week when we get a whole new 15 minutes of fame. In the meantime, I'm Geoff Driscoll.
And I'm not bankrupt yet.
Have a good week, folks. See, I couldn't think of something off the top of my head, and I knew you had something.
I just thought of it as I was waiting to see what you said. And then at this last second, I'm like, bankrupt.
That's awesome.